Good morning, everyone. We are the last group to present for today, and our topic focuses on drama and theater. To start, let us begin with the definition of drama. The word drama came from the Greek word "dran", meaning to do or to act, and according to Stern and Henderson, it is a type of literature that is expressed through spoken language and acting. So, if you guys have watched drama before, may it be in person or online, you may notice that yung mga emotions, facial expressions, body language, and voices ng mga actors are overly exaggerated. This is only because they want to show the audience the raw human emotions that we actually feel inside. So, while that is not how we usually express our emotions in real life, the actor's job in drama is to show how emotions are actually felt inside by performing exaggerated movements and facial expressions and pina-OA nila ang mga voices nila. So, if you have watched a drama in the theater, mafe-feel mo talaga yung impact ng emotion, yung acting nila. And this allows the audience to become more immersed sa drama, allowing them to relate to the characters and feel as if they're also part of the story. Therefore, drama is written and produced for public exhibition and its success is dependent on its presentation, like how yung mga directors, producers, actors, and technical team give life to the mismong drama. And it also serves various purposes at different times and places. It also comes in different forms and styles, all of which will be discussed later by my groupmates. Let us now move on to the history of drama and theater. First is the history of drama in classical Greece. Classical Greece was established around 5th and 4th century BC, and this is where the Western drama was originated. Greece had three genres of drama during this time, namely tragedy, comedy, and satire play. In this report, we will be focusing on the genre tragedy. So, as the name suggests, tragedy is a type of drama that tells a sad or painful story, usually about a main character facing terrible events. It highlights human struggles, showing how people deal with suffering and misfortune. While tragedy can mean anything unfortunate, in literature, it is a way to explore deep emotions and life's challenges. In ancient Greece, many tragedies were inspired by Homer's works, like the Iliad and Odyssey. Up next is Aristotle's Poetics and his own definition of tragedy. So I'm pretty sure familiar na mo kay Aristotle. He is a Greek philosopher and is known as the father of Western philosophy. His book Poetics is the earliest work on theater criticism. It set the foundation for understanding drama, especially tragedy. He also wrote his own dramatic theory as an attempt to form principles about theater and drama. His ideas help preserve and highlight the importance of earlier plays and playwrights. Moving on to the elements of tragedy according to Aristotle. First, tragedy as a representation of human actions. A tragedy is a type of story that shows real life struggles, decisions, and emotions in a dramatic way. It focuses on serious events that can happen to people, making the audience think and feel deeply about what they see. Second, serious events and noble characters. The events in a tragedy are not simple or funny. They involve important issues like death, fate, or betrayal. The main characters are usually powerful or respected like kings or heroes. So when they fall or suffer, it feels more dramatic and meaningful. Third, a tragedy has a well-organized story with a beginning, middle, and end. A key part of the story is when the main character's life changes completely, often going from happiness to disaster. This change is what makes the story powerful and emotional. Fourth, Aristotle also emphasizes the use of poetic and artistic language to deliver a more intense and emotional message to the audience. Fifth, Aristotle believed that a tragedy should be able to evoke pity and fear from the audience towards the hero. And by experiencing these emotions, people can reflect on their own lives, releasing their feelings, and gain a deeper understanding of human struggles. Sixth, Aristotle saw tragedy as a form of drama that should be performed, not just read. He believed that watching actors bring the story to life allowed the audience to connect more deeply with the emotions and lessons within the play. Let's move on to defining more terminologies related to tragedy drama. First is the plot. The plot is the sequence of events in a story showing what happens to the characters, and it follows five main stages: the incident, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and lastly, the denouement. In Greek tragedy, when a hero's luck suddenly changes from good to bad, it's called a reversal. This usually happens because of their own character flaws. The plot of a tragic drama comprises of two major components: the act and the scene. An act is a major division in a play, like a chapter in a book. It lasts between 30 to 90 minutes and contains multiple scenes. A scene is a similar part of an act focusing on a specific moment or setting. It starts when characters enter and ends when they leave or when the setting changes. Next are the characters. These are the people in the play and they are defined by their personality and moral choices. The most important figure is the protagonist, simply known as the main character, while the one causing conflict is the antagonist. Aristotle believed that the hero's journey is always about discovering the truth. A character's thought, the is their reasoning and motivations that explain their motives behind their actions, and their thought rationalizes it. These thoughts reveal the background story, and it is usually revealed via the dialogue or the title of the mismong drama. The dialogue are the words spoken by the characters chosen by the playwright to express ideas and emotions. It shapes the conversations in the play and helps reveal the story and character relationships. Spectacle. This is when everything that makes the play visually engaging, including the set, costumes, props, and other stage elements. It helps bring the story to life and create a memorable experience for the audience. Next is the music. These are the song choices, the melodies, and the rhythms that are used in the play. It enhances the dialogue, adds emotional depth and intensity as the story progresses.
Now that we have explored Aristotle's view on tragedy, it is clear that his ideas shaped much of what came after. One of the most notable figures to take these principles and transform them was Shakespeare. His works, while rooted in these classical elements, bring something entirely fresh. So, who exactly was Shakespeare? I'm Yana Gabriel Season, and in this juncture, I will be discussing about Shakespeare and tragedy and its elements. William Shakespeare, England's national poet and the Bard of Avon. In medieval Gaelic and British culture, a bard was a storyteller, poet, and composer. And what about Avon? That's from basically Shakespeare's birthplace. And if we put it together, we get the Bard of Avon, or simply put, the playwright of Avon. And between 1589 and 1613, Shakespeare was very busy writing. No? He started with comedies and histories, but from 1591 to 1611, his focus shifted to tragedies. And these plays took a darker, more intense turn, shaping to what we now call Shakespearean tragedies. Having seen how Aristotle defined tragedy, we now turn to how it evolved. Shakespearean tragedy, while grounded in the same principles, introduces a deeper exploration of human nature, fate, and the consequences of personal flaws. In his hands, tragedy becomes more than just a series of events, it becomes a journey into the complexities of life and death. And looking at its elements, we can say that Shakespeare's tragedies deeply followed Aristotle's principles of tragedy, but of course, with a twist. The first element is tragic hero. In Shakespearean tragedy, the tragic hero is a character of high status and noble qualities, yet deeply flawed. These flaws, often rooted in ambition, pride, or jealousy, which lead them down a path of inevitable destruction. Their downfall is further complicated by the struggle between good and evil, another element of a Shakespearean tragedy, which is either in the form of external world or within themselves. In Shakespeare's works, evil is portrayed as persistent and unshakable, pulling the hero into conflict with their own moral compass. This internal battle heightens their tragedy as they are unable to escape the forces that shape their fate. Next element is hamartia, or a Greek word for sin or error. And guys, do you happen to know the term Achilles heel? If wala pa, it comes from the legend of Achilles, the mighty Greek hero who was almost invincible, except for one weakness, Yahang heel, his heel. And despite his strength, this small vulnerability led to his death when he was struck there sa for kanina picture. And in Shakespearean tragedy, hamartia refers to the tragic flaw or error in judgment that causes the hero's downfall. This flaw, like Achilles' heel, is a hero's one weakness, whether it's pride, ambition, or jealousy, that ultimately leads to their destruction, no matter how strong or virtuous they may be. This flaw often causes tragic waste, where the hero's potential and greatness are wasted, leading to a loss that feels both unavoidable and heartbreaking. Of course, no tragedy is complete without conflict. In Shakespearean drama, this comes in two forms: internal conflict. The hero struggles with their own flaws and choices, and external conflict, a battle between the hero and their antagonist. And through all this, the audience experiences catharsis, a release of pent up emotions. We feel for the hero, mourn their fall, but also feel relief when justice is served. Shakespeare's tragedies weren't just about fate and flaws, they also had supernatural elements like ghosts, witches, or prophecies that added suspense and pushed the story forward. But here's the catch: there wasn't always poetic justice. Shakespeare wanted to reflect real life, where good people suffer and the wicked sometimes go unpunished. However, some good still came out of tragedy. Like in Romeo and Juliet, their deaths ended a long standing feud. One thing that sets Shakespeare apart from Greek and Roman tragedies kay ang paggamit niya og comedic flair or comic relief. He gives the audience a chance to laugh, even if just for a moment, before diving them back into the darker parts of the story. And it is often through a witty character or situation. Take it for example, in Hamlet, Polonius is a great example of this. His long-winded and somewhat foolish character who tries to act wise but often says things that are more silly than smart gives amusement and comedy For the audience, his contradictory character make the audience laugh. His over-the-top advice and his tendency to spy on others make him a source of humor in the play, giving the audience a break from the serious themes of death and revenge. In Shakespearean tragedies, soliloquies and monologues are important tools for revealing a character's inner thoughts and emotions. Unsa man din ni si soliloquy? This is when a character speaks to themselves, often alone on stage, and they share their personal feelings or dilemmas with the audience. This tool helps the audience understand the character's intentions and feelings at first hand. A monologue, on the other hand, is a longer speech directed at other characters. One of the most famous soliloquies is Hamlet's "To be or not to be, that is the question." In this moment, Hamlet reflects on life, death, and the struggles he faces. In the next slide, we will present this famous soliloquy, which offers a deeper understanding of Hamlet's troubled mind.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished to die, to sleep.
Good day, everyone. Today we will explore the evolution of drama from the Romantic era to American drama. Drama has always reflected the social, cultural, and philosophical shifts of its time, and understanding these changes helps us appreciate how theater evolved into what it is today. Let's begin. Let's start with the Romantic era, also known as Romanticism. The Romantic era emphasized deep emotions, imaginations, and nationalism, and melodrama was the most popular theatrical form where the hero was always virtuous and the villain was the evil. Common themes include social struggles, freedom, and personal redemption. One of the example is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Les Miserables followed Jean Valjean, a man imprisoned for stealing bread, as he seeks redemption while being pursued by Inspector Javert. It embodies romantic themes like social struggles, personal redemption, and emotional storytelling. This play also reflects nationalism and the fight against oppression, which were the key elements of Romantic era. Later on, the story became a musical adaptation, further emphasizing melodramatic storytelling with intense emotions and dramatic moments. Romantic era included music, spectacle, and dramatic effects to heighten emotional impact. In simple terms, romantic drama was about grand emotions, heroic figures, and intense storytelling. Now let's move on to the next era. The 20th century drama. In 20th century drama became more realistic and experimental. Let's look at some of the key dramatic styles and examples. The first one we have realism. Realism stories reflected real life situations and human behavior. One of the examples is the Dollhouse by Henrik Ibsen, which depicts a woman's struggle against societal expectations. This play tells the story of Nora Helmer, a woman trapped in a marriage where she is treated like a doll by her husband. It was revolutionary because it challenged gender roles, and the traditional expectations of women in society. The play ends with Nora leaving her husband and children, which was shocking to audiences at the time. This drama represents realism as it focuses on real human emotions, struggles, and personal growth rather than exaggerated storytelling. The second one, we have naturalism. Naturalism took realism further, portraying raw and intense emotions. One of the examples is the Miss Julie by August Strindberg. It focuses on class conflict and human desires in a naturalistic settings. The third one, we have symbolism. Symbolism uses dreamlike atmospheres and supernatural themes, or non-realistic scenery. The example is The Glass Menagerie by Tennis Williams, which uses symbolic elements to depict memory and family struggles. Fourth, we have Expressionism. Expressionism is in a form of abstract and subjective storytelling. One of example is The Hairy Ape by Eugene O'Neill. It explores alienation in a modern world. The last one is Surrealism. Surrealism explored altered versions of reality. The example is The Six Characters in Search of an Author by Luigi Pirandello. It plays with reality and fiction. So to wrap up, the 20th century marked a shift from exaggerated storytelling to deeper explorations of human emotions, psychology, and reality. Now let's look at the postmodern era. The postmodern era. The postmodern era challenged traditional storytelling. One of its major contributions was the theatre of the absurd. The theatre of the absurd was heavily influenced by the philosopher Albert Camus, who introduced the concept of absurdism, the idea that life is meaningless. Themes often reflected a pessimistic view of the world. The dialogues were often rambling, focusing on deep and serious discussions about existence and the death. So we have here an example, Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. It is a perfect representation of absurdist theater, as two characters wait endlessly for someone who never arrives, symbolizing the meaninglessness of life. This play follows two men, Vladimir and Estragon, who wait endlessly for someone named Godot who never arrives. The story has no clear plot, making the audience question the meaning of time, purpose, and existence. The character's meaningless waiting symbolizes the absurdity of human life and the search for meaning in a world that offers none. The play lacks traditional storytelling elements such as a clear conflict and resolution, making it a perfect example of theater of the absurd. So instead of clear narratives, these plays in this era had fragmented, non traditional storytelling. This era also was about breaking the rules, challenging audiences, and making them question reality and the meaning. Finally, let's talk about the rise of American drama. In this era, Broadway became the center of theatrical excellence in New York City at the year of 1750s. Early American theater was influenced by Shakespearean plays, with actors and managers like Thomas Kean and Walter Murray shaping the industry. One of its examples is the Eugene O'Neill, which played a key role in American drama pioneering realism and expressionism, which was happened at the year of 1888 to 1953. We have here an example, A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennis Williams. This play tells the story of Blanche DuBois, a fragile woman with a tragic past who comes to live with her sister Stella and her aggressive husband Stanley. Themes of mental illness, social decline, and psychological conflict make it a defining work of American realism. The play explores deep human emotions and shows how characters are shaped by their past traumas. Unlike romantic plays that focus on heroic figures, A Streetcar Named Desire portrays flawed, complex characters dealing with real-life struggles. As we can see, drama has evolved significantly over time, from the emotional intensity of the Romantic era to the experimental styles of 20th century, the philosophical nature of postmodern era, and the rise of Broadway in American theater. Each era reflects the culture and mindset of its time, showing how art and storytelling continue to change.
Good day, everyone. Today, we will explore a fascinating world of traditional Japanese drama, from its origins in mythology to the four major forms that exist today. We will see how this rich theatrical tradition has influenced Japanese culture. So, the Japanese drama can be traced back to Shinto mythology. It all started with a celestial event involving Amaterasu Mikami, the sun goddess. After a dispute with her brother, the storm god Susanoo, she withdrew into a cave, plunging the world into darkness. In an attempt to bring Amaterasu out, the other gods devised a plan. One goddess named Ame no Uzumi no Mikoto performed a spontaneous and humorous dance. Her movements, along with her partial exposure, made the gods burst into laughter. Hearing the commotion, Amaterasu became curious. When she peeked out, she saw her reflection in a mirror and fully emerged. The gods then quickly sealed the cave entrance, ensuring she couldn't retreat. From this mythological origin, Japanese drama evolved into four main types. Firstly, we have kabuki, known for its elaborate makeup and expressive acting. We also have bunraku, a sophisticated puppet theater requiring multiple puppeteers. Next, no, a highly symbolic and slow-paced performance using masks. And lastly, kyogen, short comedic plays performed between no acts. At this juncture, we will explore a fascinating form of Japanese theater that combines dance, drama, and music. So, kabuki is a traditional Japanese performance art that began in the early 1600s. It was founded by Izumo no Okuni, a shrine maiden. Originally, the term kabuki referred to its flamboyant and eccentric style. It was first described in 1603 as kabuki odori, or strangely dressed dance, kabukimono, strangely dressed, and odori, as dance. Through this, the performances are highly stylized, featuring dramatic expressions, dance, and music. In the beginning, kabuki was performed by women in what was called una kabuki. However, due to social controversies, women were banned from performing in 1629. Male actors replaced them in yaro kabuki, with young men taking on female roles. Unfortunately, the attractive adolescent male performers, or wakashu kabuki, also engaged in prostitution. Through this, restrictions were placed on who could perform. During the golden age of kabuki, which lasted from 1673 to 1841, the government lifted previous bans, allowing the development of unique character roles. Actors specialized in different roles such as the onagata, who played female characters, and the tachiyaku, who played strong male heroes, waka onagata, who played young women roles, katakiyaku, where actors placed in villainous roles, and kashagata, where actors played the role of middle-aged elderly woman roles. After the Golden Age, kabuki faced difficulties, especially during World War II, when interest declined. Due to cultural changes, people were either disinterested or totally rejected the shows. However, it was revived by Tetsuji Takechi, a director who reintroduced classic performances with innovative approach. Today, kabuki continues to be a significant part of Japanese cultural heritage. Kabuki consists of three main elements: the stage design, performance, and play structure. Firstly, stage design features an elaborate rotating sets. Yes guys, naay parts sa stage nga ga-rotate sa kabuki. On the left picture, kabantay mo anang murag circle sa tunga sa stage. Mao na siya ang rotating stage sa kabuki. This element allows a quick scene change and smooth transition between settings. Next, we have performance. Actors use exaggerated movements and facial expressions. Next, the play structure follows the Jo Hakyo concept, where the pacing starts slow, builds up, and ends up dramatically. In addition, makeup also plays an important part of the performance. Actors wear thick makeup. They use rice powder to create the white oshiroi base. Kumaduri enhances facial lines to produce dramatic animal or supernatural mask. So diri sa bottom no, we can see some kumaduri or kabuki makeups and makaingon jud tag angas jud kayo sa tanawon. Like maka-wonder sabta nganong naay lahi-lahi nga color or design ang makeup. One of the most striking features of kabuki is the makeup called kumaduri. The white base represents traditional aesthetics, while colors convey character traits. Red symbolizes positive traits like heroism, power, youth, and righteousness. The blue or black signifies negative traits like villainy and jealousy, while green represents the supernatural beings, and purple is associated with nobility. So, in summary, Kabuki has a long and rich history from its origins with female performers to its evolution with male actors. It has endured bans and revivals, but today it remains one of Japan's most treasured art forms, continuing to captivate audiences worldwide. And now let's move to Bunraku.
So I'll be discussing about bunraku. This is one of the Japan's oldest and most refined forms of puppetry. It was originated from ancient rituals where puppets were used to represent the deceased. Over time, it was influenced by a Chinese puppet performances, which helped shape the unique art form that we know today. For its history and evolution, the history of bunraku can be traced back to the 7th century, when traveling puppeteers known as Kugutsu Mawashi performed in the streets of Japan, earning a living through donations. Many of these performers later settled in Nishinomiya and Awaji Island areas, still known for their puppetry traditions today. Over time, these performers began incorporating jururi, a style of a narrative storytelling, which led to the development of what we now call Ningyu jururi. For the meaning and elements of bunraku, bunraku is also known as Ningyu jururi, which translates to puppet storytelling, where Ningyu means puppet and jururi refers to the narrator who tells the story, accompanied by a shamisen, a traditional three-string Japanese instrument. One of the most remarkable aspects of Bunraku is that three puppeteers work together to bring a single puppet to life. Their synchronized movements create a sense of realism and deep emotional expression. By the popularity and cultural significance, by the 16th century, Bunraku had become a highly respected and popular form of entertainment. Some Kugutsu Mawashi even perform in front of the imperial family and military generals, highlighting its importance in Japanese culture. So as you can see, the picture at the top shows Bunraku puppeteers working together to create a lifelike expressions and movements, while the picture below, it highlights the puppeteers dressed in black blending into the background while manipulating the puppet. So to conclude, bunraku remains a cherished and a highly skilled form of a Japanese performing arts. Even today, it continues to be performed in theaters across Japan, keeping this centuries-old tradition alive. Now, let's move on to the No theater. This is one of the Japan's most traditional and refined art forms. It evolved from the ancient dance dramas and festival performances held at shrines and temples dating back to the 12th and 13th centuries. So by the 14th century, it had developed into a highly sophisticated art form. So the word no comes from no, meaning talent or skill in Japanese. So the no in the Tokugawa period from 1603 to 1867. During the Tokugawa period, no became a ceremonial drama performed on special occasions. It was an exclusive performance for the samurai class with professional male actors portraying the roles. These performances were often prayers for peace, prosperity, and longevity, especially for Japan's elite. However, common townsfolk had their own versions of no plays. So for the unique characteristics of no, no is sometimes referred to as the art of walking due to its slow and controlled movements. So what are the difference of no from Western drama? So unlike Western drama, where actors portray a character, the no performers are more like storytellers who use their appearance, gestures, and subtle expressions to depict the story's essence. The audience is usually familiar with the plot, so the focus is on the symbolism, elegant gestures, and hidden meanings rather than dramatic acting. So essentially, no is a visual metaphor relying on a minimalistic movement to convey deep emotions. So as you can see the picture in the presentation, that shows the traditional No performance, where the actor wear mask and elaborate costumes while performing against a simple symbolic stage backdrop. So this setup enhances the mysterious and ritualistic atmosphere of the performance. So to conclude, No remains an essential part of Japanese cultural heritage, emphasizing symbolism, ritual, and traditional rather than realism. Unlike Western theater, No focuses on subtle storytelling through movement, music, and expression, making it a truly unique and timeless performance art. So No is a highly stylized performance that combines drama, dance, and music to tell stories rich in symbolism. Now let's explore its four key elements. First, the mask. So one of the most iconic aspects of No theater is the use of mask. Unlike other forms of theater where actors rely on facial expressions, the No actors wear beautifully crafted wooden masks to portray different characters. The Shite or main actor is almost always masked, especially when playing supernatural beings, women, or elderly characters. These masks are not just static objects, they are designed in such a way that slight tilts of the head can convey different emotions. So, for example, by adjusting the angle of the mask, an actor can make the character appear joyful, sorrowful, or angry. This subtle technique requires immense skills and is one of the reasons why No is considered such a refined art form. Second, costumes and props. So the No costumes are elegant and multi-layered, often made of silk and decorated with intricate patterns. They reflect the character's role, age, and status, while props are minimal, but the fan is an essential item, which symbolize anything from sword to the wind, allowing for creative interpretations. Third, the stage. So the No stage is a wide, open, and unadorned with no curtains or elaborate set pieces. The most distinctive feature is the painted pine tree on the back wall, symbolizing a connection to the spiritual world. So a long bridgeway allows actors to make dramatic entrances, emphasizing the transition between reality and the supernatural. And last but not the least, the chant and music. So music and chanting play an important role in the setting, the atmosphere. So the Hayashi ensemble provides music using flutes and drums, while the Jiutai chorus sings and narrates the story. So the rhythmic chanting enhances the emotional impact of the performance. So together, these four key elements create the unique and mesmerizing world of No theater. With its mask, costumes, symbolic stage, and evocative music, the No continues to captivate audiences preserving the Japan's rich cultural heritage.
Now, let's move on to our next topic, drama in the Philippines. This is one of the earliest forms of art that reflect our culture, values, and identity as Filipinos. Let's start with the indigenous period. During pre-colonial times, there was no written literature just yet, so drama was expressed through oral traditions and live performances. It was done as community theater, meaning everyone participated. Most of the time, it was part of rituals for blessings, offerings, or celebrating important events. These performances involved mimetic rituals or imitations of human actions and nature. They used music, tribal instruments, singing, and dancing. Chants and songs were also important. They served as prayers, praise, or even storytelling. For example, in 1668, Fernando Ignacio Francisco Alsina documented a tradition called balak, a poetic form of courtship or love debate. Even though the Spanish colonizers came, these traditions didn't disappear. Although naapektuhan man, they still remained in our cultural practices. Now, let's talk about the characteristics of these rituals. First, they were led by tribal priests or priestesses, spiritual leaders who guided the community in connecting with higher spirits. Second, they performed spirit invocations, often entering a trance to communicate with these spirits. And lastly, they offered sacrifices, usually symbolic gifts like food, animals, or sacred objects, which often ended in a communal feast or celebration. So ayun, Philippine drama started deeply rooted in ritual and storytelling, evolving over time but never losing its cultural soul.
The Spanish colonial period drama in the Philippines. So, the Spanish drama came from Europe but was changed to fit Spanish traditions and beliefs. It was used to entertain people while also shaping their opinions about Spanish culture and leadership. So, ang nahitabuan ni, ang Spanish drama kuno originally came from Europe. But when it was brought to the Philippines, kimodify siya to match the Spanish traditions and beliefs. The Spanish used theater not only as a form of entertainment, but also as a way to shape people's opinions about their costumes and way of life. And through plays, ma-promote nila ilang culture, ma-encourage nila ang loyalty sa Spanish rule, and ma-influence nila how Filipinos viewed their colonizers. Many of these dramas feature themes of chivalry, romantic heroes, and patriotic battles, which reflected Spanish ideals of bravery, honor, and devotion to their country. By using theater, they made their culture and traditions more appealing to the people they governed. When the Spanish arrived, they saw that Filipinos already enjoyed theater. They used plays as a tool to spread their influence and teach Catholicism. So, diba they noticed that Filipinos already had an appreciation for theater and storytelling. So, seeing this, the Spanish friars took advantage of theater as a tool para ma-attract o maka-teach of Christianity in a way that was engaging and easy to understand. Instead of simply preaching, they used drama to tell religious stories, making Catholic teachings more memorable for the local population. So, over time, Catholic priests developed religious plays, which became an important part of town festivals, especially during events like Advent and Lent. These performances not only entertained people, but also strengthened the Spanish influence by reinforcing Catholic values and traditions in Filipino society. The main forms of Philippine drama in the Spanish era are Sinacolo, Comedia, and Zarzuela. The first main form is Sinacolo. Sinacolo is a religious play that portrays the suffering, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. It is a major part of Holy Week traditions in the Philippines and is usually performed in town plazas or open fields where many people can watch. So ang purpose sa Sinakulo is not just to retell the story of Christ's passion, but also to inspire reflection and para ma-strengthen ang Catholic faith among Filipinos. Some performances are simple, with actors in basic costumes, while others are grand productions with elaborate props, lighting, and sound effects. Regardless of how it is staged, ang Sinakolo remains an important tradition that continues to be performed in many Filipino communities today. There are two main types of cenaculo performances. The first is hablada, where the lines are spoken in a slow and formal manner similar sa poetry. And this version typically lasts for only one night and emphasizes the rhythm and dignity of the script. The second type is cantada, in which the lines are sung rather than spoken. This version is more elaborate and can take up to 3 nights to complete. Both versions aim to deepen the audience's understanding of Jesus' sacrifice and encourage reflection of their own faith.
To continue, the second form of Philippine drama in the Spanish era is comedia, or also known as moro moro. It is a traditional Philippine theater form that originated during the Spanish colonial period. It was primarily used to depict the conflict between Christian nobility and Moorish or Muslim counterparts, with the narrative always ensuring the triumph of Christians. This performance served both as entertainment and as a tool to reinforce Christian dominance during colonial rule. The first Philippine Comedia was written by Father Geronimo Perez to commemorate the victory of Governor General Consueras over the Islamic tribes in the southern part of the archipelago. This performance served as a historical dramatization of the Spanish Christian triumph over Muslim forces. Father Perez's script was first performed in Manila in 1637 and eventually became a popular show among the town people during fiestas. It is significant its significance extended beyond entertainment as it became a tradition in local celebrations and gatherings. A specific type of comedia, also known as Comedia del Santo, was introduced by Spaniards as a way to instill Christian values in the local population. This religious form of comedia was used as a tool for religious instruction and conversion. The tradition of staging Commedia del Santo continues today, particularly in Iligan City, where it remains an important part of cultural and religious event. Despite modernization, this theatrical tradition has persisted in certain areas. One example of a religious commedia is the Commedia de San Miguel, which was written around 1890 and serves as a didactic or educational performance. This play aims to teach moral and religious lessons to its audience. Another form of religious commedia is known as Yawa Yawa, which tells the story of Luzbel, which is also known as Lucifer, rebelling against God. This narrative aligns with Christian teachings about sin, disobedience, and divine justice. In the story of Yawa Yawa, God, through the archangel Michael, who is also the patron saint of Iligan City, defeats Lucifer and banishes him to hell for eternity. This reinforces the Christian belief in the ultimate triumph of good over evil.
Theater is more than just what we see on stage.
Now that we've learned about the history and significance of Comedia, let's watch this video to see how it comes to life on stage.
Directors, actors, and many
Now that we've learned about the history and significance of Comedia, let's watch this video to see how it comes to life on stage.
the playwright is the lubricants
Now that we've learned about the history and significance of Comedia, let's watch this video to see how it comes to life on stage. Now that we've learned about the history and significance of Comedia, let's watch this video to see how it comes to life on stage. Now that we've learned about the history and significance of Comedia, let's watch this video to see how it comes to life on stage. Now that we've learned about the history and significance of Comedia, let's watch this video to see how it comes to life on stage. Now that we've learned about the history and significance of Comedia, let's watch this video to see how it comes to life on stage. Now that we've learned about the history and significance of Comedia, Let's watch this video to see how it comes to life on stage. Now that we've learned about the history and significance of Comedia, let's watch this. The Zarzuela is a traditional Spanish one-act stage play that combines singing, dancing, and comedy. Its engaging and humorous nature contributed to its popularity among local audiences. Over time, the incorporation of singing and dancing in the zarzuela allowed for the integration of native Filipino traditions, leading to the development of the zarzuela, a localized version that reflected Filipino culture and social realities. The zarzuela is a form of melodrama that features music and dance to enhance its storytelling. It often centers on love stories, particularly those involving the colonial Philippine upper class. These narratives are frequently intertwined with comic love episodes featuring servants, adding an element of humor to the performance. However, beyond its entertainment value, the Sarsuela became significant for its satirical critique of institutions and society, making it a powerful medium for social commentary. A significant contribution to the Zarzuela came from Dr. Jose Rizal, who wrote Junto al Pasig. This play portrays the struggle between good and evil, with Satan attempting to tempt the faithful into worshipping him. While the story ultimately demonstrates the victory of good over evil, Rizal used it as an allegory to highlight the suffering of Filipinos under Spanish rule, making it a subtle yet impactful form of resistance against colonial oppression. The zarzuela gained widespread popularity in the Philippines, serving not only as a form of entertainment but also as a platform of subversive propaganda. During both Spanish and early American rule, it was used to express opposition to colonial powers by promoting patriotic themes and fostering national identity. As a result, the zarzuela became a crucial cultural and political instrument in Philippine history, reflecting the aspirations and struggles of Filipino people. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title Walang Sugat. Here is an example of a zarzuela play made by the students of Ateneo with the title During the early American occupation, Filipinos still had fresh memories of the Philippine Revolution, which influenced their nationalist sentiments. As a result, the themes and plots of Sarsuela performance during this time became strongly nationalistic. These theatrical productions served not just as entertainment but as a way to express patriotism and resistance against colonial rule. Filipinos watch these Sarsuela performances not merely for their artistic or aesthetic value, but because of their subversive message. The nationalist theme in these plays resonated with the people and reinforced their desire for independence. However, this trend concerned the American colonizers, who feared that Sarsuela could inspire rebellion and resistance among Filipinos. In response, they banned these nationalist performances to prevent the spread of anti-colonial sentiments. As part of the suppression, the American authorities arrested two well-known patriotic Sarsuela writers, namely Pascual Poblete and Aurelio Tolentino. Their work were seen as a threat to colonial rule due to their strong nationalist theme. This event demonstrated how the colonial government actively worked to suppress expressions of Filipino nationalism.
The later American occupation and drama. During the American occupation, Filipino revolutionary dramas slowly disappeared as European style plays become more prominent. Shakespearean plays and other Western theatrical productions were introduced, especially in elite schools, which influenced the Philippine theater scene. At the same time, American soldiers stationed in the country enjoyed entertainment through vaudeville, which is a form of variety show that included comedy, singing, dancing, magic acts, and even trained animal performances. These shows were light-hearted and focused on amusement rather than serious or political themes. In the beginning, most performers in vaudeville acts were foreigners, particularly Americans. But as time passed, Filipinos also started participating in and adapting this style of entertainment. And this marked a shift in Philippine theater, moving away from the revolutionary plays of the Spanish era to more westernized performances. In 1920, Luis Borromeo, a Filipino entertainer, introduced vaudeville, a local version of vaudeville. Inspired by American performances, vaudeville featured a mix of comedy, music, dance, and theatrical acts, but with a Filipino touch. Unlike traditional vaudeville highlighted local artists and included performances that resonated with Filipino audiences, and it became a major part of Philippine entertainment, blending Western influences with Filipino creativity. Over time, vaudeville helped shape the country's theater industry and provided a platform for local performers to showcase their talents.
For the contemporary period, we will be discussing the evolution of Philippine drama and its forms. The contemporary period was the spark of the evolution and development of Philippine theater or drama and all its forms, where its development was greatly influenced by the successful integration of American education in the country. It was also during this time that early Philippine theater artists were trained in Western dramatic styles or traditions, flourishing the Western style plays here in our country. But over time, the Philippine horizon for theater uh, are have evolved into the blend of Western, local, and Asian influences. So then it became diverse. Then comes the 20th century, where the focus of drama were the contemporary lives of Filipinos and the societal issues, which were all depicted and portrayed as love stories. So basically, the Athening love stories were the central theme during this time. And Why ginagamit nila ang love stories to portray the stories? Because, or the plays, because it makes the story more relatable and engaging sa audience. This also led to the classification of drama, particularly based on its emphasis. So, natin melodrama, comedy, and drama symbolico. So there are three primary forms of drama with, of course, a different purpose. So first, we have melodrama. Presented stories aim to make people cry. So it evoke siya og mga deep emotional response na gamit sa people na mo cry because of its intense themes. Second, we have comedy. So mao na siya entertained with laughter, usually through slapstick humor. So kaning slapstick humor, it is a type of physical comedy nag-involve or characterize sa um, kanang mga violent action, but not just that, but no kay napoy like mga acrobat or kanang stunt performance. So, third, we have drama symbolico. So, kanang sa right side na picture, it is an example of drama symbolico. So, muna siya ang 2009 Repertory Philippines staging of Nick Joaquin's A Portrait of the Artist as Filipino. So, this is drama symbolico because the play features allegorical elements that reflect the struggles of Filipinos, particularly during the time of transition and the post-colonial era. So the play explored the themes of cultural identity, societal struggles or challenges, and the tension between tradition and modernity. However, as the Filipino artists no kanang experiment with numerous local and Asian drama forms, together of course with folk dramatic traditions, they have discovered that the Filipino playwrights and Filipino audience generally prefer the Western concept of realism in their production style, where the drama showcase Filipino characters, costumes, and settings, with dialogues, of course, gonna use ang Filipino language. So a good example of this is the New Yorker sa Burgos. It is an adaptation of the play New Yorker sa Tondo, directed by Hobart Xavier. This production uses a slapstick comedy to tell the story of Kikay, a woman who returns to the Philippines after living in New York, now adopting the American lifestyle. So the play humorously contrasts her newfound New York sophistication with the local Filipino context, exploring themes of cultural adaptation and identity.
The role of theater. Theater is more than just an entertainment form. It engages deeply with the cultural, social, and emotional experiences of the communities it serves. By portraying real life issues and emotions, theater broadens the audience's knowledge and imagination. It mirrors the realities of society, reflects human experiences, and sometimes challenges or affirms the audience's perspective. Through its ability to both reflect and construct realities, theater plays a vital role in shaping and communicating cultural and societal truths. Theater is a collaborative art form that involves the fusion of various creative disciplines, from the written script to the set design, lighting, costumes, music, and acting. Theater brings together a wide range of artistic expressions. This collaboration ensures that the final performance is not just a script brought to life, but a collective creation, where every element, visual, auditory, and performative, works together to create a cohesive and impactful production.
Theater as a form. So theater can be understood mangled in different lenses. So first we have theater as literary work. So this is the play script, which serve as the actual blueprint of the performance. Second, we have production. This is the process of creating stage design, lighting, costumes, and the elements needed for live performance. So that's why Nakapatang Dira is from script to stage. Third, we have performance. So this is the final presentation. It's the actual staging of the performance in front of the audience, where the actors bring the story to life. Fourth is thought and logic. Theater is also a subject for intellectual engagement. That's why Nakabutang Lira is review and critique because it invites critique, discussion, and analysis of its themes and performances. Fifth and lastly, we have entertainment. So, theater's ultimate goal is to connect with audience emotionally. It engages their hearts and minds, making them reflect on themselves and the world around them.
To continue, I'll be talking about the elements of theater production. Mounting a theater production involves a lot of components that work together to create an engaging, impactful, and memorable performance. Let's go over each of these elements. First, we have the dramatic text. This is the play script itself. It includes the list and description of characters, their dialogues, and the playwright's notes or framework for direction. This is the foundation of any theater production. Next is play interpretation and direction. This involves studying the script through historical, cultural, and social contexts. It helps identify the themes, subtexts, and motivations of the characters. Artistic direction also comes into play here. This is the creative backbone of the production. The director brings the script to life using their unique vision and guides the actors and artistic team. The third element is space. This refers to the physical setup or venue of the performance. There are four main types of theater spaces. Proscenium stage, a traditional stage where the audience watches from the front like a picture frame. Arena or theater in the round. This stage is surrounded on all sides by the audience. Thrust stage. The stage extends into the audience, forming a semi-circle or U shape. Last is a black box, a small flexible space used for intimate performances with minimal set and lighting needs. Fourth is visual and auditory spectacle. This includes everything the audience sees and hears. Visually, these are the sets, props, costumes, makeup, lighting, and effects. Auditorily, these are the sound effects and music that supports the story. These elements help bring the world of the play to life and make the performance more immersive. Next, we have production management. This is all about handling resources, both tangible and intangible. It includes booking, contracts, budgeting, and marketing. A good production manager ensures everything is organized and well funded for a successful show. Then there's stage management. This role is all about making sure everything runs smoothly from rehearsals to actual performances. The stage manager works closely with the director and crew, coordinating all aspects of the production to maintain artistic integrity. Last but definitely not least is the audience. A production is incomplete without them. Their reactions, whether laughter, applause, or silence, affect the energy of the performance. They help complete the overall theater experience.
Theater is more than just what we see on stage. It's an art form created by a team of passionate individuals known as theater practitioners. These include playwrights, directors, actors, and many more, all working together to bring a story to life. So every great story starts with a writer. The playwright is the one who transforms ideas into words, crafting scripts that become the foundation of every performance. One of the most renowned playwrights in the Philippine history is Francisco Balagtas de la Cruz. I'm pretty sure everyone is very familiar with his piece, Florante at Laura, because it's been passed down from generation to generation. It's a piece of literature that blends romance, war, and patriotism in poetic form. The next one is the director and the dramaturg. A script alone isn't enough. We need someone to bring it to life. That's where the director comes in. Ang director, he envisions how the play should unfold, guiding the actors and technical team to create a seamless performance. An example of a Filipino director is Wilfredo Guerrero. He is not only a director but he's also a playwright, teacher, and a theater artist. He wrote 100 plays and published 41. X is ang dramaturg. So what about the research? That's where the dramaturg comes in. Siyang person that sometimes acts as the director themselves, dives into the text, research the historical context, and makes sure that the play's interpretation stays on point. Gina-ensure nila nga ang historical and cultural accuracy of the play. Now, let's talk about the people who play on the stage. They are the actors. Kani sila, they don't just memorize the lines. They embody their characters, making the audience believe in their emotions, struggles, and triumphs. One of the most internationally acclaimed Filipino actors is Lea Salonga. With her powerful voice and outstanding performances in Broadway hits like Miss Saigon and Les Miserables, she has set the standard for excellence in theater. She is a true icon of Philippine theater and Broadway. Now let us move on to the creative and technical team. Now, a great performance isn't just about acting, it's also about visuals and effects. The set designer creates the stage design, building backdrops, props, and embellishments that transport the audience into the story. Next, we have the technical director, who ensures everything runs smoothly behind the scenes. They coordinate lighting, sound, and special effects, making sure that the magic happens flawlessly. And speaking of lighting, the light designer plays a crucial role in setting the mood. Whether it's a dramatic spotlight or a warm, glowing sunset, lighting can completely change how a scene feels. The sound and production team. Sound is just as important as visuals. The sound designer or scorer selects or composes music and sound effects that enhance the performance, whether it's an emotional background score or the sound of thunder during a stormy scene. But none of this would be possible without the hardworking technical and production crew. They are the one who shift sets, adjust props, and making sure everything runs smoothly from the one scene to the next. Then, we have the production manager, the mastermind behind the logistics, handling finances, schedules, and resources to ensure the entire production is well organized. So for the stage management and promotions, coordination is important in a theater, and that's why we have the stage manager. This person ensures that the entire production runs seamlessly, keeping actors, crews, and technical aspects in sync. But what's a show without an audience? That's where the marketing and sales officer comes in. They find sponsors, sell tickets, and make sure the production earns enough to keep going. And finally, the promotions and publicity officer makes sure people hear about the show. Through social media, posters, and advertisements, they create buzz and excitement, making sure seats are filled on opening night. And that's it. Theater is not just about actors on stage. It's a collaboration of talented individuals working together to create unforgettable performances. So next time you watch a play, remember, it's a team effort behind the curtains. Thank you, and we hope this gives you a new appreciation for the art of theater.